Is your neighborhood safe? Stay tuned to find out. Here are the 10 most dangerous neighborhoods to live in the United States. 10. Whitman Park in Camden, New Jersey. Whitman Park is a neighborhood with a population of 6,117. Somewhere you definitely don't want to send your kids to school. The average student's test score is 76% lower than the national average. 62% of the residents will graduate high school, while only 2% of them will go on to college and get a 4-year degree. Living in Whitman Park offers residents an urban-suburban mixed feel where most residents rent their homes. In fact, some of the empty buildings have become hotbeds for drug-related crime. Others serve as makeshift memorials to those who have been killed. Whitman Park is a crime and drug-infested neighborhood. In Camden, murders, essays, and robberies have all seen an increase in rates in just the last few years. This urban neighborhood also has a crime rate of almost 85 victims out of every 1,000 people. However, businesses have started to move into Whitman Park in recent years. There are now a lot of bars, restaurants, coffee shops, and parks, but not exactly the ones you want to hang around. I guess the positive side is that rents are cheaper than other areas. 9. BROADSTREET Avenue and Cortland Street in Detroit, Michigan. What makes this particular neighborhood unsettling is the high rate of real estate vacancies. Almost 46% of homes are sitting empty, giving criminals more than an opportune chance of trespassing and hiding out, or to use one of them for meetings about illegal activities like drug deals or gambling. While most major U.S. cities continue to grow, Detroit has seen one of the steepest population declines over the last half-century. At its peak, the city was home to 1.8 million people in the 1950s, but the decline in manufacturing jobs has driven the population down to less than 700,000 today. The city's massive unemployment and poverty rates amount to a city with the highest violent crime rate in the country. Today, large swaths of Detroit lie abandoned, a living reminder of the city's decline. Unfortunately, until Detroit's public administration gets its act together and starts attracting businesses and economic growth, its status as America's most dangerous city will only continue. 8. Wyoming Street and Orangelawn Street in Detroit, Michigan. Yet another neighborhood in Detroit, except this one's crime rate is about 86 victims to every 1,000 people. That's quite a big gap from neighborhoods that are just a few minutes away. City number 7 in the Huffington Post's Most Dangerous U.S. Neighborhoods list has a median real estate value of $34,000, less expensive than 99.7% of all U.S. neighborhoods. It's by far the worst area in Detroit, with a 40% residential vacancy rate and 82% of its children enrolled in the school system designated as economically disadvantaged. The combination of low income and vacant homes produces rough living situations for both adults and children. More than 70% of the homes in this area are worth less than $62,000, making it tough for any of the residents to relocate. I guess most of the places in Detroit are one of those where you don't want to be out when the sun goes down. 7. Orange Street and West Broad Street in Rochester, New York. Unfortunately, Rochester has seen a rise in not only murder rates but rapes, robberies, and assaults as well. A resident's chance of becoming a violent crime victim rises to 1 out of every 11 people here, so it's best to look elsewhere for housing. As they say, it's not all that glitter ain't gold in New York, as you may know, as one of the greatest cities in the world. And while the city consistently ranks as one of the best places to live in the country, thanks in part to a strong economy and tons of entertainment, it's not all rainbows and sunshine in Rochester. Some neighborhoods aren't as great as others. That's because this area has an 88.2% crime rate. Realistically, you can't expect all the neighborhoods to be amazing. 6. Chelsea Avenue and North CLAYBROOK Street in Memphis, Tennessee. With a violent crime rate of over 1,900 incidents per 100,000 people, Memphis, Tennessee ranks as the most dangerous city in America's South. One could argue that violence is just as much a part of Memphis's identity as blues music and barbecue. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis in 1968, and since the Civil Rights Movement, the city has become ground zero for some of the worst firearm violence in the country. In fact, the majority of the city's 186 homicides last year were firearm-related. That's one lifeless body every 2 days on average. In Memphis, this neighborhood has a high rate of single mothers, over 90% higher than the rest of the United States. A higher rate in single mothers usually indicates higher rates of poverty and crime, which are both pretty high in this particular area as well. 5. 7th Street and East Jefferson Street in Rockford, Illinois. Another neighborhood in Rockford that you should not dare to mess around, this particular area has almost 90 victims for every 1,000 residents. What makes this entry so unique is that the neighborhood is right next to a hospital and almost stretches to the other side of the river. Today, Rockford's economy faces the same struggles as other Rust Belt cities in the latter half of the 20th century. Economic struggles often generate crime problems. In the 7th Street and East Jefferson Street neighborhoods, unemployment is 5 times higher than the national average. Currently, the violent crime rate here is 10 times the national average. Without intervention, BNS forecasts that violent crime in this neighborhood will increase to 18 times the national average by 2023. So no matter what happens, stay away from this place. 4. Eagle Dale, Indianapolis, Indiana. This area of Indianapolis is no stranger to crime. A little over 20% of the population is living in poverty, which makes them turn to crime to provide. For the most part, this is due to drug dependency. Just the other day, authorities served 15 search warrants, and from these raids, they found 11 pounds of meth, 60 pounds of MJ, 18 firearms, and the worst, 25 bootleg copies of Madea Goes to Jail. That was all just Tuesday, and you don't want to know what they have planned on Friday. Eagle Dale is safer than 2% of the cities in the United States. In other words, if you took 100 towns in this country, there would only be 2 worse than this little slice of heaven. 3. East 23rd Street, Indiana Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. Your typical place in Kansas wherein you will not make it if you walk around at nighttime. You might get knocked out randomly and get all your stuff stolen – wallet, keys, everything. Chances of becoming a victim here are 1 out of 16 people, and the violent crime rate is almost 62 out of 1,000 people. The East 23rd Street, Indiana Avenue neighborhood stands out for having an average per capita income lower than 97% of the neighborhoods in the United States. Also of note, 67% of the children in this area live in poverty, a very high percentage compared to other neighborhoods in the nation. 2. James Buchanan Drive and 1st Street in Jackson, Tennessee. Tennessee made it twice on this list. One of the unique characteristics of the James Buchanan Drive 1st Street neighborhood revealed by analysis is that the per capita income of residents here is lower than that found in 99.7% of the neighborhoods in America. This area also has a greater percentage of children living in poverty than found in 99.9% of all U.S. neighborhoods. In addition, single parenting is hard. But you don't have to tell the James Buchanan Drive 1st Street neighborhood about it, they already know. 28% of this neighborhood's household are run by single mothers, which is a higher concentration than NBS found in 99.4% of American neighborhoods, while Jackson claims that 1 out of every 1,000 people, almost 98 of them, are victims of a crime. Even though the real estate prices are higher, they tend to be for small apartments and one-bedroom houses, making homeownership less and all the more likely that future residents will end up with renters as neighbors. Renters mean high turnover rates, which means never being quite sure of who exactly is next door. 1. City Center in East St. Louis, Illinois. The top entry on this list, City Center in East St. Louis. This neighborhood also has a multitude of red flags. The amount of single mothers is over 99% higher than the rest of the nation, and the amount of children living in poverty is over 75%. The chance of becoming a victim of a crime here is 1 in 10. East St. Louis was ranked the most dangerous city in Illinois in a 24/7 Wall Street analysis examining cities with at least 20,000 in population. The crime rate here is 175% higher than the national average. There's about 22 reported violent crimes occurring daily in the city center. According to the FBI Uniform Crime Reports, in 2015, East St. Louis had 19 cases of murder and non-negligent manslaughter, 42 cases of SA, 146 cases of robbery, 682 cases of aggravated assault, and 12 cases of arson. In 2016, Neighborhood Scout released rankings indicating that East St. Louis had the highest murder rate of any city in the United States, a title it has since held every year. This neighborhood has definitely seen better days back in the 1800s. Today, however, this is not a place you want to end up. Thank you for watching. Watch this video next.